And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, the secret oaths, and the secret proceedings.
The show that asks questions about why we don't ask questions. What
the hell is going on?
This is Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park.
We're on the air.
And he said, I think so. And then he broke into Old Man River.
Now I get weary, sick of trying.
Conspiracy Queries. These are the conspiracies of query that I'm asking that I don't know about because people conspire together. Welcome to the show this week. We're further along in Trump essence or Trump destiny. I don't know how it's going to go. Do you? Now they're talking about a recount and more recounts, and Jill Stein had to do it, though, because she seems to be a better leader than Hillary. I mean, why did she concede so early? If she's such a great leader, no one can seem to answer that question. And when they do get it answered, you're unfriended. Hey, throughout history, secrets and arguably evil is woven into the manipulation of our lives in this society, whether we know about it or not. And a lot of people are doing this right now, laughing their asses off at the mess that has come upon us. Oh, brother, I tell you, nobody knows what they're talking about, and everybody knows what they're talking about, and it's all going on at the same time. Okay, so here's something new I'm going to do before we get moving along too quickly. I've got a lot of news stories. We got to cover them because this is also part 2 of the show with Nelson. It was a fun interview, and this is the second part of it, connecting the JFK assassination and that era of history through 9/11 right on up to today's aftermath of the Trump-Clinton matchup, if you will. So, before we get to that, here's something I wanted to try with you guys. This is out of context. Out of context. This is a quote from the show. Out of context. I can't help it. You got to hear this thing.
Satan is the god of this world.
Sorry, Satan is the god of this world. So
yeah,
where's
right in the Book of Prince?
Where's he at? Like is it
well,
an
his
office?
headquarters is in Rome. But yeah, his office and his throne is in Rome.
Oh, okay.
That's been reported in the Telegraph newspaper.
So, it's a fella walking around. You know, that's what you mean. Like Satan's a fella.
Oh no, he's a spirit. No. He's an invisible spirit. He's a spirit being.
Okay.
His time is very short now, too.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be thrown into the bottomless pit for 1,000 years.
How long?
1,000 years.
And no bottom.
Bottomless pit.
Okay, that's where I am completely lost. I just like that. I listened to that about 10 times when I was putting this together. Okay, next point of business is when you're on Twitter and you do the hashtag thing and you're searching specifically for hashtags as opposed to maybe specific people you follow or trying to find things in the news. If you're looking for hashtags of interest, check some of these out. This one is called Drain the Swamp. Have a look at that. Diehard Trump fans saying things and providing things you can't seem to find anywhere else. And a lot of mainstream people will say that's because it's garbage. And I'm sure they're definitely interested in covering up anything that might resolve the mess that's known as Pizzagate. Hashtag Pizzagate. So we got hashtag Drain the Swamp, hashtag Pizzagate, hashtag Comet Ping Pong, because that's where the pizza was being eaten on top of the pizza that was holding pizza under it and having pizza in the sort of the triangular shape that's, you know, down there below kind of thing that you go for. That's been gone for and is gone and not clear exactly how anybody has been getting away with anything from that mess. Also, hashtag spirit cooking. Yeah. What is that? It's really weird. It's an Aleister Crowley. Is that how you say it? Is it Alistair? Alistair. Whoever. Not a cool guy. I don't think so anyway. And he's got this thing called spirit cooking. You should Google it up under him. I understand that Hillary's campaign manager is all about it. And thereby connection... wow, you can really imagine some drawings, some pictures there. So, once again, these are all hashtags. Hashtag Drain the Swamp, hashtag Pizzagate, hashtag Comet Ping Pong, hashtag Spirit Cooking, and hashtag George Soros. Without whose deep pockets we wouldn't be able to put all of this together. All right. Next up is fake news. Everybody's talking about the fake news, and a lot of that has to do with this whole Pizzagate thing. If you're not sure what it is, I don't want to get into it too heavily on this show because it's already long, but it's very vile, and you have Google, so figure it out your own self. It's disgusting, and it's why a lot of people didn't want to vote for that side. But while that was going on, I found it quite interesting that when JFK was assassinated, there was a heavy hitter who got sent down to the Antarctic to take a poke around there for some reason during the time Kennedy was killed. And strangely enough, this time John Kerry went down to the Antarctic just before the election for some reason. He wanted to get down there to take a look at some things, because when you're John Kerry, you want to get down there. During the election season, it's important to go to the the Antarctic. He went to the Antarctic. Why am I saying Arctic? Oh. The reason I'm saying the Antarctic is because that in the Telegraph.co.uk, Scott and Shackleton logbooks, these are the ancient explorers, prove Antarctic sea ice is not shrinking 100 years after their expeditions. Says that the Antarctic sea ice had barely changed from where it was 100 years ago. Scientists have discovered, after poring over the logbooks of great polar explorers such as Robert Falcon Scott and Ernest Shackleton. And it's a great article. You should check it out. It's November 24th. The Telegraph. Amazing. So, wait a minute. It hasn't changed at all? But I heard that it did. Who would possibly say something so false and so vile? Someone providing fake news, that's who. Hey, have you guys ever heard of pedophiles? There's a lot of them out there, apparently. And if you are listening to this, and you are one of those people, consider yourself euthanasia or something like that. Or get some kind of help. Because we don't need people like you. And particularly if you're kind of running things in a governmental capacity and you're a pedophile, definitely just take your own life. Don't go for therapy or anything. Just wrap it up right now. Don't mess around with therapy. You're not a regular person already. If you're one of these people, because pedophiles have been doing all kinds of terrible things for such a long time, and unfortunately, a lot of these investigations lead to places where seems like police officers are involved, or members of the judiciary, teachers, private schools, all kinds of hidden nightmares. And then others say this is all nonsense. But when you look at what's been hacked and what's been obtained over the last several weeks, particularly leading into this election, it's kind of hard to ignore that pedophiles are all over the place. I kind of have a theory that it really is about 1% to 3% of people in general are psychopaths, which is, that's kind of a big number. It sucks, but, that's 97% of the rest of us on guard, right? Unless 1% to 3% of us that are psychopaths, okay, fine, we can deal with that. But unfortunately, I think these people that run things are drawn from the psychopath pool. So even though they're only 3% of society, they are a major percent of the decision-making that goes on. How else to account for the fact that they constantly do things that we don't approve of? And we let them do it. And they're just us, right? Aren't they? Or are they monsters sometimes? Anyway, that could be fake news right there. That could be fake news that I'm saying that there are pedophiles in high places. Yeah. Right. Okay, well, that's sad if you believe that, because if you believe that, we're really not going to get anything done in the way of flushing these freaks out. Comet Ping Pong, like I said, that's a shop where you can buy pizza in D.C., and the guy's a real mover and a shaker. I don't like the picture of him that he's provided himself onto the internet, where he's got dark eyeliner on and he's covered in blood in some weird naked pose. I don't like it. Hey, I guess I'm a prude, but I really don't like it, and I don't like the proximity of these people and the secrecy and the dip-arounds that a lot of the media have been doing with these really dark and ugly revelations of these Saturnalian freaks. But hopefully it's gonna end. Cross our fingers. Interesting times, definitely. Interesting times while Donald Trump reframes his key campaign themes. This is on a thing called Voice of America News, voanews.com. Says Trump appears to be backing away from some of his his campaign themes. Why did he rail so hard on Hillary Clinton and get the crowd frothing at the mouth and just can't wait to see her locked up, lock her up, and chant like this? And then now she's had enough. It's okay. No problem. You know, she needs to heal. Did you have a coffee in your mouth when you heard that? I did. I did a spit take when he said he wanted to have Hillary heal. Okay, thanks, Dr. Phil. Yeah, he'll probably run next time for the Democrats. Get ready for Dr. Phil. So, I don't know why he's changing his position. I think someone maybe has more power than him now that he's won the presidency anyway. You know, like every other time. You'll recall how Obama, during his campaign to become president, where he beat Hillary, because she's just not a winner in that category anymore, he was running against her. And he campaigned that he wanted to clean things up and that there was a lot of crooked business going on in Washington and maybe that war wasn't so legitimate and he was going to look into it and he wasn't going to allow Republicans to, whatever. He gets sworn in and it's like, let's move on. Let's move on. Yeah, I want to move forward. That's in the past. You know, we had those things. They left us where we are. Let's just move forward and do the best we can. Is not what you're going to be able to tell the judge when you steal a loaf of bread. Oh, yeah, officer, that was days ago. God, can't prosecute me for that. Yeah, it doesn't work like that for folks. It only works like that for the psychopaths that make up a lot higher of a percentage of those running things. Or is that fake news? I challenge you to call it that. But let's look at this. ZeroHedge.com has a thing that says Merkel declares war on fake news. Merkel, yeah, she's part of that whole cabal, right? That whole European globalist thing where the corporations come in and run everything. As Europe brands Russia's RT and Sputnik dangerous propaganda. Oh, wow. I mean, it's amazing how these folks with this fake news claim right around the time some of the most horrifying news of so many of these aforementioned pedophiles and psychopaths. That's the theme of today's show, everyone. Have way too much going on in the halls of power. Way too much. Anyway, we have a new We have a new situation here with a president in the United States of America named Donald Trump. And let me get a little something off my chest right now. In 1986, Canada passed NAFTA under a conservative prime minister who, during the campaign to become prime minister, said NAFTA was something of his opponent's party and he would have nothing to do with it. Then he wins the election, then NAFTA comes in. We realize what a hose job it is and start protesting it. And for years, Canadians have been protesting NAFTA at different times, different levels, different meetings, different Davos, G20, whatever the hell, over the years. And we can't seem to get it repealed. And we can't seem to get it looked at to get it repealed because our leaders always tell us, no, it's a done deal. It's fine. We're doing great. And all of a sudden, this guy, Donald J. Trump, ascends to the president-elect. And Justin Trudeau, the prime minister of this country, is quickly on the phone to him saying, hey, listen, if you want to take a look at that NAFTA, that's no problem. Give me a call as soon as you're ready. Yeah, I'm happy to take a look at it. Yeah, whatever you want. Okay. Wow. How could you bend so quickly for this new leader that we don't even know if he's going to make it, if there's any kind of a fight with a recount? How could you do that? I mean, I'm glad you're going to renegotiate it, and I hope it gets stabbed in the throat and bleeds to death like he's doing with the TPP. But how could you just bend so quickly for that guy 2 days in power and disrespect the will of the protests of Canadians over 30 years? And this guy wins the presidency, probably, and that's where you go. I'm just amazed by it. Sorry to pound that one to death. But, wow, it's so weak. It's so weak. It's ridiculous. Hey, reporters are getting spied on. Isn't that neat? Reporters in Canada, this is on the CBC, 6 reporters spied on by Quebec Provincial Police. I suspect the problem is wider than that. But if you're bringing the news to the folks, even mainstream folks, you're getting spied on by the police there. Every piece of information, every detailed thing is on display. Apparently, they're netting everything. They're netting all kinds of stuff. They have a protest going on at the DAPL, the Dakota Pipeline assault that the government under Obama, who is not there this Thanksgiving with the protesters. This has been going on, an armed standoff in today's America. I mean, the pictures are unbelievable. I can't believe that something like this is going on, but I can. And no one talks about how terrible it is that Obama sits at the top of this thing. Everybody feels sorry he lost the election to a businessman who ran his own game, who freaked them all out. On that note, though, quick aside: please don't pick Romney for anything. Okay, just if you want to maintain any kind of credibility at all. You guys hate each other. Obama, Romney came out with a campaign and said on he swore this guy was an idiot and a terrible person, and now he's in there shaking his hand trying to get a post. Come on, don't do that, man. You're an awful person if you're going to carry. Why could he just ping pong back and forth? Oh, yeah, ping pong, psychopaths. See, it all ties in. It really does. It really does tie in. So the fake news, we're told, is the, this show. And, anybody that's not in the big six, Disney, ABC, anybody that's not that. Because those big 6 companies, a long time ago, were 8 companies, and they were then, a little more free-spirited when they were 8, and even more when they were 10 and 12 and 40 and 126 companies, when you had something a lot closer to truth. But we couldn't have that. It wasn't even truthful then, but it's easier to control now that they're all down into one company. Back then, a long time ago, the so-called news that you believe in, with Cronkite and Tom Brokaw and all of those people that are a party to things like going along with politicians spewing bullshit, absolutely no follow-up questions while this guy lies us into trillion-dollar wars. Stuff like that. You know, when you don't do a follow-up question like, well, what about the fact, sir, that it's demonstrably clear that whatever you're saying here is untrue? But they don't ask questions like that, despite having the information. And it's infuriating. And it goes on all the time, and it always has. Now they have the gall to come out and say, fake news is a problem. I don't think there's ever been real news. Because right now it's wantknow.info time. Oh, yeah, we're lifting the veil. I love this website, wantknow.info. All lowercase, one word. This is the lifting the veil. We're on the continuing this series, folks. I got to keep doing it. It's fantastic. Here we go. Chapter 7, Operation Mockingbird. Completely relevant to today's gripe. About a third of the whole CIA budget went to media propaganda operations. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars a year just for that. Close to $1 billion are being spent every year by the United States on secret propaganda. That's the testimony of William Schaap to Congress. In 1948, the United States began the Marshall Plan, an initiative to help the devastated Europe recover from the war. The CIA decided to siphon funds to create the Office of Policy Coordination. That's a great name. Which would become the covert action branch of the agency. It was under this program that Operation Mockingbird. Should I back up a little? Okay. What it says is, the CIA got some money and created a thing called Operation Mockingbird, a domestic propaganda campaign aimed at promoting the views of the CIA within the media, began. From the outset, Operation Mockingbird was one of the most sensitive of the CIA's operations, with recruitment of journalists and training of intelligence officers for propaganda purposes, usually undertaken by director Alan Dulles himself, the guy that created the entire fictitious bullshit story called the Warren Commission, or his direct peers. It is a false belief that the CIA infiltrated unwitting media institutions. The recruitment of journalists was frequently done with complicity from top management and ownership. Former CIA Director William Colby claimed during the Church Committee investigative hearings, "Let's go to the managements. They were witting." Among the organizations that would lend their help to the propaganda efforts was the New York Times, Newsweek, Associated Press, and the Miami Herald. Providing cover to CIA agents was a part of the New York Times policy set by their late publisher, Arthur Hayes Sulzberger. There's more, but I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just hope you will check it out. I'm going to hit some of the highlights. Reporters shared their notebooks with the CIA. Editors shared their staffs. Some of the journalists were Pulitzer Prize winners, distinguished reporters who considered themselves ambassadors without portfolio for their country. While a majority of Mockingbird operations were overseas, the goal was to have important, hard-hitting stories to be circulated in the American press, and this is a long time ago. Okay, this is like decades ago, and I'm sure it's far more entrenched now, especially with the concentration of ownership. These punks, huh? Well, just before we get to the show and Nelson and closing out our fantastic interview, thanks so much for listening, and all of the feedback has been great. You guys are, it's fun that you're listening. Thanks so much. A lot of really kind people out there, which is kind of hard to believe if you've ever looked at the comments on a YouTube page. Yeah, so just be on guard about fake news. Okay, use your head. and understand that the people providing fake news are going to want to think that the people that are providing real news, who are a much smaller organization. That's how it works. Those guys are co-opted. So, pick your path carefully, but it's hilarious that the big networks are calling everybody else fake news. I want to thank Kevin MacLeod. That's go to YouTube and check him out. Kevin, Kevin Macleod. He's providing the music that's underneath all of this. Kind of creepy because it fits. And I want to thank him for making that available. He's got that available for everybody to use and listen to. It's very well done. High quality stuff. So thanks to Kevin MacLeod. Thanks to everybody that's been listening. And thanks to Nelson, because this was such a fun interview to have. And I'm so happy to listen to it again with you. And I just want to say, this is, I'm just going to roll it back a little bit from the end of last time to pick up some context. Okay, so if you're hearing it for the first time, it'll work for you. But definitely go back and listen to the first part of this interview. So now, let's go to our interview.
Well, there's a great article in Telegraph. I've got it on my site, the article from the Telegraph newspaper in England, where the chief exorcist of the Vatican was quoted as saying that the devil lives in the Vatican. Like, this has been reported by the chief exorcist.
I remember that, yeah.
Once again, this is not my opinion. I'm just stating what's been published and what's been said. The chief exorcist quoted in the Telegraph newspaper in England saying the devil lives in the Vatican. Well, so the devil's in the Vatican. He's the god of this world, as it says in 1 Corinthians. Satan is the god of this world.
Sorry, Satan is the god of this world.
Yeah,
so
that's where's in the book of Corinthians.
Where's he at?
His headquarters is in Rome. But his office and his throne is in Rome.
Oh, okay.
That's been reported in the Telegraph newspaper.
So, it's a fella walking around? That's what you mean? Like Satan's a fella?
No, he's a spirit. No. He's an invisible spirit. He's a spirit being.
Okay.
His time is very short now, too.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be thrown into the bottomless pit for 1,000 years.
How long?
1,000 years.
And no bottom.
Bottomless pit.
Okay, that's where I am completely lost. I don't know what. I don't know what. Oh, okay, that's why I'm not very up on my Bible. I didn't know what you meant there. What does that mean then? 1,000-year hole? What does that mean?
It means he's put out of action. His ability, the prince of the power of the air, which is what he's called in the book of Thessalonians, I believe. It's in the Bible. I think it's in the book of Thessalonians. He's called the prince of the power of the air. He's thrown in the book of Revelation. He is depicted as being thrown into, at the last trump. It was called the last trump.
Yeah.
At the last trump, he's thrown into the bottomless pit.
We better make sure that little baron stays okay,
Yeah.
He's the last trump, I guess.
Revelation chapter 20, verse 2 and 3. He seized the dragon, the serpent of ancient days, who is both the devil and Satan, and bound him fast for 1,000 years. Then he hurled him into the pit, the bottomless pit, and locked and sealed it over his head so that he could deceive the nations no more until the 1,000 years were past. But then he must be set free for a little while. That's another story for another day, but he's put in the bottomless pit. So we're very close to that time when he's going to be put away. Trump's here, the last Trump.
I personally, through my research and talking about things on the show, I personally am against the TPP agreement. I don't want Canada to sign it. I didn't want anyone to. And there were chances to chisel it out and people were arguing. And when Harper was in control, it looked like we were going to sign it for sure. And it was kind of one of the things that the new Prime Minister Trudeau was thinking, we'll take a look at it. So there was hope, but he didn't say he'd spike it. Anyway, as soon as he gets in, he might as well he's doing a lot of the things Harper was doing anyway. And I just wonder, like, what it just keeps on rolling, doesn't it? The same old agenda over and over and over again, regardless.
Well, remember that the head of state of Canada, we're different from the United States. The head of state of the United States lives in the United States, lives in Washington, D.C. The head of state of Canada lives in London, England, in Buckingham Palace. That's a difference. When the head of state of your country does not live in your country, by definition, that's what it means to be a colony.
A bit of an absentee landlord.
An absentee landlord.
Jeez.
Yeah, just like an apartment building owned by some guy in Hong Kong. Try and get the elevator fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we can't get things fixed in Canada, because we have an absentee landlord.
You feel better that we are in Trump presidents right now. You feel better that happened. You did not want to see Hillary Clinton win. And,
no, I as a person who's been studying the Kennedy assassination for since 1969. Where it came to my attention, thanks to the Clay Shaw trial, which was very, very publicly covered, when Jim Garrison charged Clay Shaw and Bloomfield with the assassination of the president. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's been watching this coup d'etat and all the puppets and all the treason going on, I'm really... never thought it would happen. I got to the point where I said, I don't think this will ever be undone. This
sense of doom. There's no turning back.
Yeah, that's it. I just resigned myself to not even think about it. But then as Trump started to come and become public and make his case and start talking and say the things that he said, like when he started to talk about the birther issue years ago.
Yeah,
I had covered the birther issue on my radio show, and I had been approached by no less than 14 attorney generals of 14 states of the United States. You know, when the attorney general of a state, Phil Berg of Pennsylvania, approaches and says, "I want to come on your show because I've got evidence here." And like, this guy's an expert. He's the attorney general. Yeah. He's not just a lawyer. He's the attorney general of the state of Pennsylvania. When he said that he has definite proof that Obama is not eligible, that was news for us, and we put him on air. And of course, poor Richard got fired from CFRB because of that. I feel bad about that. But yeah. But when that happens, you realize, oh, wow, like, we know that this guy was not eligible. And when you looked at the documents, these guys are above the law. The coup d'etat leaders control the forensics, so they can give you a driver's license with anything. They control the documents, the forensics. They control it. They're above the law.
Yeah.
So now you've got Obama, and you've got Trump talking about Obama's being not eligible and wanting to raise it. So when I saw that set off bells. I thought, well, I'm shocked. Why would he say that? Isn't he part of the ruling elite? He's a billionaire. And of course, he's more or less a Robin Hood. Trump is really a Robin Hood character if there ever was one. Remember, the original Robin Hood was a wealthy man.
Tremendously wealthy man.
But he was an honest, wealthy man who cared for the people. And when the king went off to the Crusades, and the King John, the real king's evil brother, took over control of England, he started to steal from the people and be a ruthless authoritarian king. And so Robin Hood went into the forest and became a rebel against the evil king. And that's what Trump's been. Trump is our Robin Hood. He's been robbing from the rich and giving to the poor.
What do we do about this part right now? Let me just put the brakes on that aspect for a second. Okay, so I hear all of that. Pretty much agree with that. I got to say, I pretty much agree with that. But there is right now the hot conversation topic flying all over the place about the offense and the shock taken by 55 or 56 or whatever people voted for Hillary, that this horrible thing, a buffoon, has managed to wrest away the rightful place of a long-term, diplomatically astute, governing, ready and able woman for the first time, for crying out loud, finally. And gee whiz, it's a terrible way that she collapsed, and we are furious about everything. And anybody that's happy about any aspect of Trump presidents, it's an uncomfortable situation in society. It's like this move of doing this, it's causing all kinds of big arguments. It's a racist thing, it's a sexist thing. They're all looking at those little thin slices of the pie graph instead of the overall, movers and shakers in the background. So it kind of sucks because it rips a bit of the fabric of society. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, the power of the coup has been that they've been able to control the media, to brainwash the people to see their candidate as being a wonderful person when she's not. So they turn evil to appear good, and they turn good to appear evil. But remember that God has a plan, and he removes kings and raises up kings, as it says in Daniel 2:21. And the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, and gives it to whomever he will, Daniel 4:17. So we must not lose sight of the fact that God is guiding world affairs to accomplish his ultimate purpose, the salvation of mankind. Isaiah 46:9. So what's happening is very interesting. God is getting things ready for his son's arrival, and we're very close to the second coming of Christ.
We're chunking along with that storyline with this presidency. So what kind of thing can we expect to see next based on the template being followed as closely as you say it is?
He's going to strengthen the United States, strengthen the border to the south in Mexico. He doesn't have to build...
He's supposed to build a $50 billion wall, isn't it?
Well, that's right. He's going to build a wall. But remember that if you were there with the president and said, Mr. President, part of that wall, it's going to be much better for us to be able to see through the wall, and we can set up towers and use laser beams, and we can electrify the wall, and we'll build the wall, but an electronic laser wall is going to be better for us than a brick and mortar wall. So when he says but the people, to keep it simple, he just says, look, we're going to build a wall, a high wall. If he builds a laser wall rather than a brick and mortar wall,
sure,
who cares? It's going to keep people out.
Yeah, once you get it level, that's it, all the way across. You don't have to keep checking every single brick.
He'll have a wall. He'll have a border and a wall. You won't get through it. You may, in some spots, may not be an actual brick and mortar wall, but you can bet there'll be no holes to get through.
Oh, I see. Like a little shield.
Like a Star Trek wall. Yeah. Come on.
That's what we have now. You don't
really need to build, you could build every 2 miles a tower with laser beams pointed at a tower 2 miles away, and that tower could be 400 feet tall, and anything that crosses it, from a grasshopper to an elephant, is going to trigger an alarm and get zapped electronically. It may be an electrified fence. It may be a Jurassic Park wall. You saw the wall in Jurassic Park to keep the dinosaurs out?
Yeah.
To keep the dinosaurs in?
Didn't work, did it? Look what happened there.
Well, that's not the point. So I'm sure this will work and have backup power. There'll be no hurricanes stopping the power for that wall.
Well, that is a Trump president's laser wall. I can't wait to hear.
He'll remove the illegal immigrants, which you have to do. You can't have a country with illegal. You can't allow people to come in illegally. What kind of a system is that? That's nonsense. So you've got to get rid of the people who have come in illegally, and they'll leave the minute he's sworn into office. See, there's a lot of illegal immigrants who are in the United States, and because the reigning zeitgeist about them is, it's okay to have them there, they stay in the country because they're given employment. I'll tell you, I'm sure right now, you try and if you have an illegal immigrant working for you in Phoenix, Arizona right now, you're going to make sure that you report them. Because you don't want to get reported as being somebody who's employing illegal immigrants the way with what's going on with Trump taking over. So now these people are going to leave like a virus infection. They are a virus. I'm not saying they're not good people, but they've come in illegally. How can you have a country if you allow illegal immigrants? No matter how good they are. Sorry, go home. And they'll leave en masse. There may be 100 people who hunker down and try and
That's
stay
what
around.
They're hanging the argument
won't
on for sure.
Long.
Yeah.
So they'll get rid of all the 3 million or 4 million.
How are they going to do that, though? I mean, just, you figure some of them will leave on their own, like, I'm getting out of here.
And then, most of them will leave on their own because they will no longer have employment. They won't be employed. Who's going to employ them? Alan, right now, there's lots of people who are employing these immigrants. They know they're illegal, but they employ them because the reigning paradigm is not to report it.
Right. And it's cheap.
It's cheap.
Right.
So now
get a gardener or whatever, all that kind of thing, a little maid or some kind of.
Now everybody who knows them is going to expose them.
Yeah.
You're going to pick up your phone and say, so-and-so is living in the apartment. He's here illegally. So what's going to happen? When they find out that they're being reported, they're going to hightail it back to Guadalajara.
That's what we have to be careful of, though, because because what you're saying, may be true and that's what's going to happen. I don't want to start getting into like bashing people in the head and killing them and all this kind of thing because
who said anything about bashing? They'll leave voluntarily.
Well, what I'm saying is
a one-way rotating door, they'll just have a one-way door that you can go out, you can't come in.
I'm just saying, based on what's going on right now with the political climate and people being fired up about racism and everything else, you have to watch out. You have to be careful.
Human beings always go to extremes. You know what's going to happen. They'll start shooting them.
Right. That's what I mean. But I'm just saying, just because you have illegal people that came in the country and you're saying the Obama clan, we're letting them stay and that's wrong and they should be gone. So now you're saying it's good that Trump's coming and they should be gone. I'm just saying whatever the apparatus or mechanism or whatever means are set into motion that are designed to facilitate that, it doesn't result in some kind of a bunch of people got killed or injured or, some kind of thing. Because it shouldn't be that. Just like when someone gets pulled over for a ticket for a, turn signal and it turns into you're dead. I don't want that to happen with this. So this is a big concern about a deportation of 2 to 3 million people or whatever they say it is. Yeah. And racist people kind of like cheering that their demise type of thing. That kind of nonsense.
Let's not forget that more black men are being shot in cold blood under the presidency Obama than under anybody else. So Mr. Obama's not been really worried about cold-blooded murder of black men.
Yeah, those are
he hasn't done one thing to help one black man. What's he done? He could have used his office to raise the level he's done nothing because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about black guys, black people. He doesn't give a hoot about the blacks. The blacks have never had it so bad.
He was in such a form pitching for Hillary that it sounded like it was going to be the end of the world if Trump got in.
Well, it is.
And then Trump gets in, and then he says, well, hang on, we'll get up in the morning. It's okay. I was like, well.
Yeah, they're all frauds and liars.
Yeah.
The liars and whores of the oil-soaked, spiraled monopoly press and the government.
There are a lot of people involved in some level of truth, though, in all of this. I was looking at a lot of photographs and some video of Democratic campaign committee workers. As soon as they got the news that Donald Trump was like, what? God, I can't believe it. This thing was supposed to be in the pocket for like a whole year now.
Yeah, they were living in Satan's alternative universe. Yeah. Brainwashed. Totally brainwashed.
I mean, first it was like, oh, there's no way he'd run. And then he runs. Then he's no way he'd run again. Then he runs again. And, oh, he'll leave. He won't stay this time. He dropped out last time. Oh, and then he stays in. And then it's like, well, he won't do very well. Oh, he's doing well. Well, he's not going to be one of the final ones. He's one of the final ones. Well, he's not going to be the nominee. He's the nominee. Well, he's not going to win the president. How many more of these in your conscious mind? And then be freaking surprised when he wins the presidency. Like, I just can't believe people are shocked with this.
Well, he needs our prayers because we have to make sure that he's protected in there because they've tried to assassinate him already once.
When was that? With that thing on, you think so?
Well, I don't want to go into the details right now, but there was already an assassination attempt on him, and he was protected by both the French and the Russians. So protected him from being assassinated by the Rockefeller-Clinton gang. Bush-Clinton-Rockefeller gang tried to assassinate him, and he was saved and protected by the Russians and the French.
They thought they were going to get it? They thought it was a gimme? They had it the whole time? It was in the bag? Then she was reduced to not being able to raise her credibility above the level of the boor she painted him to be? Hilarious. And then now what? What are they going to do? They lost. Now what?
Yeah, Americans don't realize that there's a big history of democratic, patriotic movements in France and in Russia that have been very much protecting the United States. It was the Russians sent a supply ship in 1776, beat the British before the winter came with a supply ship that saved the American patriots. And by the way, Tsar Nicholas II, Tsar Peter II, in 1865 also was a very, very important force backing Lincoln, and Lincoln won the Civil War if it hadn't been for the Russians. So there's a lot of history there that is just not taught because the winners rewrite history. But there's a lot of good books. The Benjamin Franklin Press, the group that Lyndon LaRouche. There's another guy. On the note. There's another guy who they claim to be an anti-Semite, but he's not. He puts out some tremendous books. Get the book Treason in America by Webster Tarpley and Anton Chaikin.
When they do speak of the Clinton presidency, and a lot of people do have a happy memory of it. I won't defend or deny that, but it's a fact. A lot of people have, and that's why they thought Clinton was going to win this time. People have happy memories of that time. One of the things that people do when they praise the Clinton presidency, the Bill Clinton presidency, the only one, is the Bosnia situation. Going into Bosnia, and I don't know enough about it to say, but a lot of people praise that particular. We needed to go in, we had to help, and I don't know what the deal is on that, but, was that another kind of profiteering thing, too? Because it seems like they shouldn't have been there either.
Absolutely. You put your finger on it. You can explain that just as well as I can about what happened there. It's just like the Haiti earthquake. All the money raised by the Bush-Clinton gang for the Haitians has never been given to the Haitians. It winds up in Bush's and Clinton's pockets.
So that's what they did with the Bosnian situation?
Of Of course. Take a look at the murder of, just go to the American government website and take a look at Bill Clinton's pardon list. That will tell you the whole story. Go look at who he pardoned. Oh, what a joke.
Wow,
take a look at the people who he pardoned, and you'll see.
It's always interesting when they do that. I mean, they, at the very end of the presidency, they say, what are they doing? Those guys are all criminals. What's going on? How come this is happening? And then you're reminded that, it's all a big club of the people
and traitors.
doing that. Like, who else could?
And traitors. Clinton's list was unbelievable because it's mostly all traitors.
Yeah.
Traitors to the American system.
What do you mean by that exactly? Like who? What kind of traitors do you mean?
People whose job was to try and destroy the United States.
Oh, okay. Like leaking secrets and that type of thing?
Yes, secrets. The Clintons sold nuclear bomb parts to the North Koreans.
If I did that, I'd probably be in a lot of shit right now. Yeah.
Absolutely gave away secret codes, secrets on our on American submarine propellers that were designed so that they could be very super quiet propellers on the subs that were developed. They gave away and sold those to the Russians. Treason.
Yeah. The cognitive dissonance between the very prominent travails of this, his name is Jeffrey Epstein, regarding a sex island where young girls or possibly boys and young kids, etc., and famous people from around the world go down there, and that he has apparent intertwined dealings with both of the candidates in the most recent election. How come they get away with stuff like that?
Well, this is the satanic. These people worship Satan. They're devil worshippers. Bohemian Grove, etc.
Okay, so fine. They're like that. Great. We're not, but they're like that. Fine. But how does everybody else not go, what the hell are you guys doing? What's this? What are you doing?
These people are all twisted Satan worshippers mostly. So
but that doesn't change my point of view.
That's how they look. You can't put a person in the presidency who is squeaky clean, because the power goes to his head. The fact that he's going to be judged by history.
Yeah, but you don't have to give it to a guy that burns babies in a California forest. What?
Well, it's you got to have people. Well, you do, because Satan wants to in order to show loyalty to him, he demands sacrifices, and that way you work your way up the ladder of success, and he's got something on all these people. The reason why they put these closet homosexuals into the White House, just go to once again, it's not my point of view, just Google in the Washington Times article from June '89, which says call boys were being sent to Bush and Reagan and Bush were caught in a Washington police D.C. sting raid. This is Johnny Gosch. Remember the story of Johnny Gosch?
Johnny Gosch, yeah, a little bit. He was gone missing.
Johnny Gosch was a kid, an 11-year-old boy that was a call boy sent to the White House for George Bush 41. And then years later, when he grew up, he was a close friend and confidant and lover of George Bush 43. And you can read about it. What happened was Washington Times came out with the front page story, Reagan and Bush caught in D.C. police sting raid, call boys being sent to the White House.
Yeah.
And they had the visa slip from the White House to the call boy, to the agency that sent the boys.
And you're not supposed to do this, right?
What happened? Well, come on. These guys are pedophile. Bush and Reagan are caught. As paying for little boys. This is what they're doing. They're having sex with little boys in the White House. And what happens when you allow that is, what happens is now your enemies are watching it. Mm-hmm. They collect proof. And now your leaders become extortion-friendly people.
Yeah.
So now a paper bag goes from the Russian embassy in Washington to the White House saying, we're going to release the fact that you're paying for callboys unless you give up secrets. You can't have your leaders being extortion-friendly like we've had. Reagan,
but they all are, though, right? They all are at some level. This is
why the United States is on its. This is why they say if Hillary Clinton ever got in, I mean, she's such a puppet and she's so extortion friendly. I mean, they get her to ruin the country in order to save her skin.
I was wondering if she was in some kind of trouble because a lot of people did assume she was going to win. It was kind of taken as a given. I mean, when it was her and Bernie Sanders, what was his name? Mark O'Malley? I mean, are you kidding me? Who's that guy? Dealing with her or on her side or whatever. And they're going to be sitting there going, so the horse we backed for a long time and pretty much took for granted was going to cross the line and be able to be, what we want to have, who we want to be doing. It didn't work out. So there's a lot of people sitting there holding the bag going, gee whiz, I thought I had a sure thing there to bet on that horse, and now I don't have the influence that I thought I had because she lost.
The only way the ruling elite, the owners of the system, can control these people when they get into these positions of power is they have to have extortion items to keep them in line. And that's why you can't have an honest man. Remember W.C. Fields, you can't cheat an honest man. Never smarten a chump. Never smarten a chump. You can't cheat an honest man and never give a sucker an even break, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we've got a man in the White House who is extortion resistant. He can't be extorted on anything because he is squeaky clean. He's an honest man.
Well, what about all these lawsuits and everything that he's already involved in and are supposedly more coming up? Some people are saying he could be impeached within a year because of all those legal troubles.
Well, that's the Clinton media. That's the media saying that nonsense. Of course, that's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. Those are all civil cases. Huh. And who knows what, and most of them are nonsense anyways. They've just been trumped up, no pun intended.
I know.
Trumped up by the ruling elite to try and they're all civil cases. There's nothing criminal. He's not involved in anything criminal. So he's squeaky clean. So he's going to go in and he's going to drain the swamp. And we have to just pray that he's there for 8 years and he's allowed to drain the swamp and he does what he wants to do. And he'll be a great president if he's allowed to do it.
When you look at the potential list, the list of potential whoever he's going to pick for his cabinet, so giving Chris Christie or Ted Cruz the Attorney General thing or Trey Gowdy, it just gives me the
Well, he won't
creeps.
give Ted Cruz anything. You can bet on that. Cruz is CIA. He's from the other side.
Oh, okay.
Ted Cruz is part of the Bush gang.
Oh, okay. So how do we discern who's in which camp? How do we know these guys?
You got to know who the players are. You don't look. It doesn't matter whether there's. Forget Democrat and Republican.
No. That's what I'm asking. How can you tell?
Leaders, well, you got to know their history. We know from Cruz that his father worked with Lee Harvey Oswald, was CIA, and Bannister worked for Guy Bannister. Anybody who knows who Guy Bannister is, I don't have to go through that. He worked for Guy Bannister.
We won't go there right now. Yeah.
Guy Bannister was part of the team that assassinated Kennedy.
Yeah. So what about Trey Gowdy?
I don't know anything about Trey Gowdy.
Okay. But I think he would be the guy he would pick for that. But
I don't.
Anyway,
I don't
that's the thing that I'm afraid of is he's while he's doing this thing that you're saying he's doing. That's great that it's him and let's protect him and hopefully
I would
does 8
imagine
years and everything.
His cabinet, you're going to see really good people
like Newt Gingrich. Is that a viable thing anymore? I mean, is this guy?
Newt Gingrich is fantastic.
What?
Trump with Newt Gingrich. He's not part of any conspiracy to kill Kennedy. He's not part of the coup.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How do you know who's in which camp to be able to?
Because you take years to study. You study the people, where they come from, and what they've been doing, and who they,
Well, let's drop a list of contenders then that would be some that would be okay and some that would be not okay.
Well, that's no problem. You just take it as they appoint them. But
like for the Attorney
Trump's
General.
Gonna know, well, we'll just have to see. I don't know who he's going to choose.
Yeah,
but you can bet he's going to choose people who aren't part of the coup d'état.
Did you enjoy the night? Did you enjoy watching it?
Oh, it was like Santa Claus. It was like a kid when you're a kid at Christmas. It was just one of the greatest things of my life. It was just fantastic. Watching this. This is a dream come true. I can't believe it. I stayed up. I wasn't going to leave, but I'm waiting till I want to hear Hillary resign. That witch. I mean, we started singing "Ding Dong, the witch is dead." Da, 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 da.
Interesting stuff that she didn't do that though. Did you hear the theory on that? That she didn't resign that night and she sent the other guy out and said, "Thanks, we're going to get some sleep. Come back in the morning," kind of thing.
She
and then
called him. She called him that night, though.
Yeah, she called him, but she was supposed to.
I don't care.
She was supposed to talk at 11:15, but apparently she was crying so much they had to delay it because then she did terrible crying on TV.
Sure, she was. Listen, she was hung on her. She was hung on her own petard. It's fitting that she got screwed by the FBI, and they know what the truth is about her and where her political capital. And they know everything about her.
And how they round this guy up to actually run in the first place?
I got news for you. When you and I are watching the inauguration on just January 20th. She's going to be on a plane heading to London, England.
Are you serious?
She'll
London,
get out
England. What's she going to do there?
She'll avoid being arrested.
Huh.
They should arrest her. If I was Trump, I'd follow her wherever she goes now, and I wouldn't let her leave the country.
You thought it was weird that John Kerry was going to the Antarctic?
Yeah, he's doing the Antarctic. Exactly.
What was that all about? I don't know. Right around the election, you got to go to the Antarctic, really?
Yeah, that's like Fletcher Prouty was sent to the Antarctic on November 21st, right?
Yeah. Well, it's never going to happen that they go, "Oh, you got to go to the Antarctic," and they go, "Why are you going?" They go, "Oh, something normal."
Yeah,
sure it is.
I'd slap the cuffs on Hillary Clinton, put her in jail. She should be charged, and let's have a public trial of her misdemeanors.
I love how they say, no, she's innocent, she's clean. And then as soon as it goes through, the first thing you hear is Obama is considering pardoning Clinton just in case, It's like, well, why pardon somebody that's innocent?
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to be able to pardon her because a blanket pardon won't last, has no effect. And she'll have, there's specific charges that'll be brought against her, hopefully, and Bill Clinton.
Wow.
A whole bunch of them. They ought to be in jail, all of them. They're all traitors and crooks and liars and thieves and murderers. Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
I can't believe more wasn't made in political discussion of Bill Clinton's presidency. Again, going back to it, his decision to cut the Glass-Steagall Act, which caused...
Just look at his pardon list.
All of the spiraling out of control banking that did what it did when it finally blew up in 2007 anyway. I mean, that stuff was tethered down. I don't think it could have done what it did and collapsed the way it did so hard because it wouldn't have spiked so much, and that's what it got in the first place.
LaRouche into his cabinet, and he should make Jeffrey Steinberg the assistant attorney general.
Lyndon LaRouche?
Yeah, bring LaRouche into the cabinet. Man, oh man, the country would take off economically. You get him in there.
I don't know if a lot of people know who these folks are.
Maybe dreams will come true. Who knows?
Well, they're your dreams. Like, tell us a little bit about Lyndon LaRouche and Steinberg, because these aren't names at the tip of our tongues like Stein or Obama.
LaRouche is a famous American historian and economist who's been part of the counter-coup for years, trying to bring back some sort of reasonable common sense into government. Jeff Steinberg works for him and is a counterintelligence specialist and has been on the forefront of for instance, the Lady Diana assassination. He's a great counterintelligence specialist. I'd love to see him in the Attorney General's office going after Hillary and Bill. He'd wipe the floor with them. He's just fantastic.
So what do they do now? Did they pack up and go to Morocco? I mean, is that you were serious about she's going to be in England?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if she gets on a plane and tries to avoid the long arm of the U.S. law.
Wow.
She may temporarily refuel her plane on the Queen's Ranch in Kentucky. She's very close to the Queen, Hillary is. She spends a lot of time at the Queen's Ranch in Kentucky. The Queen Elizabeth is the largest landowner in America. She owns a lot more land than any other American, including Trump. She owns most of Kentucky. She's got a huge ranch there. Hillary spends lots of time there. That's where she gets her marching orders, Hillary does, from the Queen.
So I wonder how the Queen feels about losing to Trump.
She's very upset.
You see him do like these horrible things and say these horrible things, and all of a sudden gets in, and something that I hate, TPP, all of a sudden he says that's gone. That's something that Hillary said she was going to get rid of, but she was kind of involved in creating. And Obama wants it. I think it's amazing because Canadians have been protesting against NAFTA and these kinds of trade deals for 30 years because we don't want them and they screw us over. And we know this. And they had the 6-month clause in there where it's like, if we don't like it, we can get out in 6 months. But, once you're intertwined, they say, well, there's no point doing it.
Yeah.
But this whole NAFTA thing, as soon as Trump gets in, boom, Justin Trudeau's on the phone telling him, hey, maybe we'll take a look at this thing. If you want to renegotiate NAFTA, we'll take a look at it. It takes this guy to come into the office 2 days as the president-elect, and these people and Justin and Brian Mulroney and all these guys, and all the protests that we've had and why, and showing the economic oppression and the, losing the sovereignty of our own, ability to kind of guide our own economies and all this kind of thing. And they're just sucking at the teeth. And then finally this happens. 2 days later, it's like, hey, want to put this on the table negotiating? You really see who the master is at that point, huh?
That's it. Thank you very, very much. I'm sorry I have to run off, but it's been great going through this stuff and getting some of the facts from the archives out. Connecting the dots. You're doing yeoman effort here, Alan. It's just been fantastic. We got to do it again. Breaking: an assassination plot of Donald Trump was just exposed. Jim Beckwith, published on November 13th. I heard from my sources they had tried to assassinate him a few months ago. I'm sure that he knows it. He's not stupid, and we just have to pray that God will let him get the important work done. Let's leave it at that. We'll speak whenever you like next.
Be sure to subscribe to Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park on iTunes and to our YouTube channel. If you want to support the show and help create more episodes, you can become a patron at patreon.com/Conspiracy Queries. We appreciate your feedback, so send us comments, complaints, or queries of your own to conspiracyqueries@gmail.com, or you can post them on our website at conspiracyqueries.com. Thanks for listening.